The year is 1999. That sentence brings me back to my senior kindergarten class when I was 5 years old, where we used to read out the date on the blackboard every single day. The year 1999 exists as a stain in my mind, however, as a memory that will not go away no matter how hard I try to forget it. 1999 marked the year I lost my first tooth, my first time on a plane, and, unfortunately, the early loss of my childhood innocence. That one memory that refuses to be wiped all started with that new or old TV. At the time, Pokemon was the latest fad to hit the school. Pokemon cards, games, stickers, and the most popular, the TV show. So of course, every time I came home from school, I would stay glued to the TV until Pokemon came on at 5. The only problem was that my dad watched the news at 5:30 every day, and Pokemon episodes were back to back, which meant I had to miss an episode every day. Something I whined on and on about. My dad got tired of hearing me complain every day. That must be why he went and bought another TV. My dad put the TV he bought in my room. Unfortunately, it was just an old, small boob tube with rabbit ears even. It also had only 20 channels available, not including the channel Pokemon was on. I recall I didn't care though. I was just thrilled I had my own TV in my room. After surfing through the channels, I came to the conclusion that only Channel 2, TVO Kids, was worth watching, so I watched that for a while. It wasn't until another few months that I discovered Channel 21. One day in April, I was flipping through the channels trying to see if Pokemon was on. I pressed Channel 21 into the remote, hoping there were more channels, and to my delight, there was. My dad was surprised too, but he let me watch it because it seemed to have kids programs on. The channel was called Culledon Local 21, and later I found out it was indeed broadcast from the town of Culledon, Ontario, a town very close to my city. The show I saw on Culledon 21 looked poorly made, and I never understood what was going on that half them at the time. However, as I grew up, every time I thought of that channel, I realized more and more how messed up the shows were, and I had to ask myself, what the fuck was I watching? The following is a list of shows and episodes I remember seeing on Culledon Local 21. How I remember such a detail even disturbs me, but I guess things like this stand out in your mind for a while. There were only 3 shows I could find on the channel, probably because the channel was only operational between 4 p.m. to 9 p.m. April 1999. Booby Episode 6. Together. I recall Booby was a show where the characters were simply live-action hands. No puppets or anything, just hands. The show featured a hand named Booby, who found himself in a new situation every episode. The show was only 5 minutes long, and it looked like it was shot in front of a damp, decaying wall, with hands always on the table with a red tablecloth. Very low budget, obviously. This was the first episode I watched. The episode began with Booby trying to get ketchup out of a bottle. It actually showed him beating himself against the bottle for about 3 minutes. Finally, another hand came by and looked at Booby. Together, the other hand said, and it began beating the bottle as well, until some ketchup finally squirted out all over the table. I remember chuckling slightly at this part. Booby then stared at the ketchup mess for a few seconds before turning towards the camera, as it slowly zoomed into him. Mr. Bear's Cellar, Episode 12. Very sketchy name if you were to look at it nowadays. The show featured a guy wearing a bear mascot costume who would get a new visitor into his cellar every day. It was always a kid. The show was filmed with a camcorder, and not a very good one either. The police asked me a lot of questions about this show. This episode started with Mr. Bear sitting at a table playing checkers by himself. I didn't recognize it at first, but the table was the same one from Booby. He sat there playing for a bit, until there was a knock on the door. The camera was then looking up at the stairs, where there was another knock. Mr. Bear climbed to the stairs, and opened the door to reveal 2 young children. One was a boy about my age, and the other was a girl who looked about 8. Mr. Bear danced in delight and then started talking to the kids. I couldn't hear any of them that well. I remember, though, Mr. Bear then leading them into the cellar, which was quite dark, only lit by a small oil lamp on the table. I can't really remember that much, except him singing a song which I couldn't hear too well, probably because of that large bear mask. The episode ended with them playing hide and seek and the kids hiding in the closet. Mr. Bear was counting. May 1999. Soup and Spoon. I don't think this was even a show. I think it was more of a special movie thing. All I know is I stopped watching Called Local 21 for a while because I thought this show was too stupid. Especially since Pokemon Now came on at 4:30 and 5. I don't remember much of this, but it showed a can of soup and a spoon, both attached to strings, swinging back and forth as if somebody was holding them and dangling them in front of the camera. Interestingly enough, the show was shot in the basement, which looked just like the one used in Mr. Bear's cellar. Like I said, I can't remember much. The only thing I could remember clearly was the end. The entire thing was only half an hour, and just includes stuff I found stupid, such as the spoon chasing the soup around, trying to eat him. The ending showed a table, the one from Booby, once again, and about 7 kids sitting around it, each with a bowl of soup in front of him. They were sitting and looking at the camera, but with confused, almost frightened faces. The cameraman then held a can of soup in front of the kids and said, "Spoons ready?" And then it just stopped. July 1999. It was summer, and I hadn't watched Channel 21 for a while. Until one day I slept over at my friend's house. I decided to check it out again. My friend had gotten a TV in his room for his 6th birthday, so we stayed up very late. For us, 9:30 was very late, and watched TV. That's when I remembered Channel 21 and brought it up to my friend. We decided to see if it was on, and to our surprise it was. They must have changed the broadcasting time. Mr. Bear's Cellar, episode 23. This episode was entertaining for my friend and I, mainly because it had swearing. However, now that when I think of this episode, I realize something was definitely wrong when it was filmed. The episode started with the camera on its side, and it was facing Mr. Bear, who was walking upstairs to the cellar door. The camera then blacked out for about a second before fading in, back upright and facing Mr. Bear. There was also another kid talking to him, but this kid looked about 11 or 12. He was talking to Mr. Bear for a while, but I couldn't hear very well. Again, with the crappy camcorder, until the kid started to raise his voice. The kid was saying how it was late and his sister had to go home. You could also hear more voices in the background. I remember Mr. Bear clearly saying, "Get the fuck out, you're not invited," with a deep voice muffled by the bear mask. I remember my friend and I looking at each other and laughing at the mention of the forbidden F word, but this episode got weirder. The kid began climbing the stairs before turning around and saying how he was going to call the police. Mr. Bear began breaking into a run towards the kid, who started screaming and running as well. The camera then cut out. That was the end of the episode. The channel then turned to static. Booby, episode 42. Playing with Scissors. One rainy afternoon, I was bored, so I decided to watch Channel 21. When I started watching somehow, about a guy sitting in an armchair was just finishing. I forget what it was, though. When I first saw this episode, I thought it was for teenagers because it had blood in it. And it was very gross. When the police told me everything, I now know who the blood belonged to. The episode showed Booby in another hand with a ribbon around the pinky finger, Booby's girlfriend. Booby was holding scissors and hopping around back and forth, while his girlfriend slowly swung around aimlessly. Another hand shot into the screen. The hand was smaller, though, and was jerking around violently, as if someone under the table was forcing the hand, and I later found out this was the case. "Scissors are very dangerous, kids, so hold them safely," Booby said to the camera. I noticed I could also hear muffled screams, but I wasn't sure where it was coming from, because of the bad sound quality. Booby's girlfriend grabbed the smaller hand, which was thrashing about, and Booby went at it with scissors. He started with the thumb. He opened the scissors wide and clasped them onto the thumb. Blood began oozing out, and the muffled screams were now very loud. My 5-year-old self was very grossed out, and that's when I decided maybe Booby was a show meant for teenagers or grown-ups. Then the scissors got to the bone. A horrible crunching noise was heard, and that's when I turned the TV off. I never discussed it with my dad because I fear he would limit my TV time. Hey up everybody, it's Xsmith Gaming. I'm back. I didn't really do an end slate for the last video. I usually don't do that, but I thought today was a special occasion. Not really. Anyway, I'm not gonna, well, I will be reading these once in a while. I might start doing like covers of songs. Like I'm not gonna play my guitar. I'm just gonna sing. But anyway, not as of now because I'm kind of sick. I don't know if you can tell it in my voice, but my voice is a little bit more raspy than normal, and my nose is really stuffy. And I was trying not to cough during this reading, but I did. I came close, but whatever. I will be recovering from this soon. It's just a mild cold, maybe some strep throat. I'll be getting through this soon, don't worry. To the technology of science! Thank God for medical science nowadays. Anyway, so I will be getting 2 packages sometime this week or next week. One is a package from my girlfriend, my beautiful, beautiful woman. I love her with all my heart. And the second one is just a thing that I bought. But anyway, since it is going way too long, I'll be doing an unboxing of both of those things. Oh god, I don't feel good. Anyway, I'll see you guys later. Enjoy the rest of your night. Peace.